This is the second part of Europe, China, and Boer independence. Now, if we take this idea forward of the Boers being an independent republic, European centric, and also having good relations with the United States uh, on the African continent, and if we can get a, a stable Boer republic with a central bank, its own currency, open in a customs union with South Africa, which so there's a flow of goods between South Africa and this Boer Republic, then we can start to think about the stabilisation and the increase in farming produce. Also, the Boers would have a good basis for, because of their intellectual ability, to put down infrastructure and research and development for scientific tasks through having their own university system, which could be linked with the universities in Great Britain and Europe and America. Now, from having this good infrastructure, then you can start to think about how to expand this, not territorially, but through having the same kind of social market model throughout Eastern Africa and Southern Africa. And then you can start thinking about high-speed rail links, especially building on the infrastructure that there is in East Africa. And so perhaps the Boers could let us, instead of being at odds with the idea of a Cape to Cairo high speed rail link, the East Africa could thus be developed for international trade. Places like Kenya could be opened up as points of sea routes rather than being bypassed by international trade, and also, of course, security cooperation could be between South Africa, the European Union, Australia, and New Zealand. I'm not just saying that because Australia borders the Indian Ocean, but of course the Boers would have a good basis for having a naval, having being a naval presence there to ward off Somali piracy, which is of course a scourge of that area. Now, as I said before, the European Union and US have a natural ally in the Boers. But what about the Afrikanners on the Cape? Well, the Afrikanners on the Cape are more cosmopolitan, and so contacts can be opened up there between Europeans and also as a tourist destination, and also for holiday homes. The ideas of European, like people in their 18 to 30s from Europe coming there to study or to work, or even to settle, because there will always be, and even an economy like the European Union or the United States, people who can't find jobs there because the sectors that they're in are full up. For instance, with the recent welfare bills in the United States, there was a report on the BBC which showed that a microbiologist, she was being turfed out of her home because she couldn't find work in the United States and couldn't keep up with her mortgage repayments. People like her will obviously be welcomed by the Afrikanners of the Cape Coast. Now, over time, as the economy improves, the social standing improves of the Afrikanners because of the pressure from having a Boer Republic, which would give the Afrikanners a much greater say in South Africa, because they would then be able to vote with their feet if they didn't like the policies of the ANC. And so obviously the Boer Republic, if it became a reality, population would grow and grow and grow, and would have access to the sea, because the Boers would have a treaty with that was signed by Zulu leaders from centuries ago, saying that the Boers had access to the sea. Now, of course, as is the custom with powers, one power takes on the treaties of the previous power, and so the treaties are binding until a new treaty comes along which changes that situation. Now, the rest of Africa, of course, is going to need to be fed, and of course the Boers are particularly good at farming. But the Afrikanners are more, as I said, more cosmopolitan, so they would form the financial and industrial base of South Africa. And already there are moves in South Africa itself to have a greater influence for the Afrikanners in cultural matters, films, and also because of the what is effectively the Democratic Party, or the Liberal Democrats. If you're British hearing this, in the Cape have got the majority of votes there, and the ANC in the Cape part, in the Western Cape, are actually in retreat. Now, so there could be a democratic electoral way of defeating the ANC there, so that a centralist kind of party can come up. But this begs the question of whether the the Cape Dutch, as the Boers call the Afrikanners, do actually want independence from South Africa, or if they not given up on South Africa. This would be a question which could be solved by the same model as Boer independence. But for the rest of Africa, of course, Nigeria is unstable, but it has a strong presence there as in comparison with other African countries. And of course the European Union would want to stabilise Congo, which of course that war started because the French went outside of the European Union in their own support for Mobutu there, and so the Americans didn't like that, and they brought in an armed Laurent Kabila, and that's caused almost 7 million people to be murdered by different factions. And of course the Africans themselves are not without blame, because of course 6 different factions have all been fighting for control of Congo's mineral wealth and of course rights to logging. Now, if we can get high-speed rail stabilise East Africa, then there's a possibility that Zimbabwe could become Rhodesia again. But many of the Europeans there have already left. But at least we could get some black African leaders who might copy the example of the Boers and help with this. And of course, with the encouragement from the US and EU, this might be possible. I think the Boers, as I said before, could be an independent Boer republic could really help the Europeans and Americans turn back the influence of AlQueada in Africa. And as for China, we don't know how beneficial to Africa the African economies that their influence could be. So we can't really write off China as a completely negative force. They could have some positive benefits, and we could work with them and the Africans in Africa to bring Africa out of darkness into light. Thanks. Peace.